So why does it seem like right now there is more support for Karrion Kross than ever before? The guy's been around in WWE specifically for several years. He's been released, he came through NXT, he got called up to main roster with a questionable gimmick, to being released, to coming back to the company. And at that point, a couple of years ago now, for me as a fan, it felt like Kross was going to be getting more momentum. He was getting more TV time. He was getting feuds with Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio. He was starting to build a little bit more. Then we saw Kross evolve and get into the group with Final Testament, which is kind of a cool idea. But then it never really got any momentum. And then, unfortunately, everybody from Final Testament gets released by WWE, and Kross is left on his own island with Scarlett. Not that that's a bad island to be on, but Kross having to basically pick up the pieces from a TV viewer's perspective, him having to go and figure out what exactly he's going to do with this character now that he is on his own. And we started to get more Kross. We started to see him interact with a lot of the roster on Raw, where he was kind of playing the devil on the shoulder character, whispering and getting into people's ears like The Miz and Sami Zayn and The New Day. Kind of just needling, he's just tweaking them, he's just needling, he's sticking it to them. That's what he's doing, he's sticking it to you. But even though Kross was getting all of this promo time, where he would do these interactions with multiple superstars backstage, where he would do the promos by himself with Scarlett up in the rafters, I was never seeing him on Raw to wrestle. And I always found it very perplexing, because here's a guy you are giving TV time to. You are putting him in segments almost every single week, but not building anything with them. And then leading up to WrestleMania, where AJ Styles was gonna go up against Logan Paul, you had Karrion Kross have the one-on-one match with AJ Styles. This is where I feel like WWE does this a lot, where it's going to be a couple of stories happening, and coincidentally, revolving around Logan Paul, whereby Logan is not on TV every single week, and that's fine. So in his place, you have Karrion Kross and AJ in almost this side B story going on that is a little bit more compelling. Finally, we get a match on Raw between AJ and Kross, and it was great. By all accounts, this delivered. And then we went into WrestleMania 41 with a very mid-tier match between AJ and Logan Paul, and Karrion Kross was involved in that match. And the crowd popped during that match too when Kross came out.
Karrion Kross!
For me watching, it kind of felt like that was the match to build. It kind of felt like that was the match that had more intrigue, and that they were seemingly building on TV every single week. So we finish up WrestleMania 41, and then we get this really interesting work shoot promo from Karrion Kross. He's on the Raw podcast with Sam Roberts, and Kross goes off. This is the kind of stuff I love to see, because it blurs the line between the real life frustrations that are presumably there and keeping it in check within the character and the whole universe that they are building in WWE. Threading the needle and just finding that balance between the work and the shoot is really compelling. So when Kross goes off the way he did about WWE, about Triple H, AJ Styles, the match, not being on the card, the frustrations he clearly has, it really felt like that was the culmination of his frustrations coming out, and then we start seeing the influx of all of the fandom behind him. Now, I will say, not everyone is a fan of Karrion Kross. He's not a 5-6 star match guy. Everyone has their different interests, and that's okay. If you're not a fan, it's fine. But for those that are intrigued or kind of curious as to why there is so much commotion, I think it has to do with event after event after event taking place. Now, after that work shoot promo, Kross goes on to release his own documentary on his own YouTube channel that is talking about a lot of his martial arts. He's talking about events that he's going through, WrestleMania, and they blur in the entire work shoot promo that happened. But it's now from his perspective, from his camera, from his people and his team documenting it. And you get a really great angle and different perspective of the whole thing kind of coming together. And once again, this is one of those things, if you watch both of them, you really get a better sense of who the guy is and who the character is all about and why he feels the way he feels and that he is justified. And when people see that somebody's getting held down by the man or getting held down by the company, not being utilized, all of that within WWE, that's when you start to see fans really getting behind someone. That's where you start to see something like a Daniel Bryan, that's where you start to see something like CM Punk in the pipe bomb. Is this Karrion Kross's pipe bomb moment? I don't know. That's up for interpretation. I think the landscape is different now. I don't think it is the same thing. It's not Punk battling Vince and Triple H and really being burnt out by everything in the company. But there are shades of that stuff all in there. So as we fast forward past WrestleMania and past the promos, Kross starts showing up a little bit in the backstage stuff on Raw. He's being interviewed out in the stands with all of the fans. And the thing though is that Kross is doing these interviews when they're in commercial break. So here in Canada with Raw on Netflix, they show you the 2-3 minutes in between where you do get a lot of the promo segments from like New Day or Karrion Kross or whoever, where they're being interviewed, or they're showing you the rest of the match that's going on with commentary. But in other parts of the world, they don't see all of that. And so when you're watching Kross giving a promo, he's listening to the crowd, and you can hear the crowd is popping big for Karrion Kross just in the promo segments. But then again, nothing happens. He's not pushed on Raw. He's seemingly not continuing this AJ Styles feud. Where he is on Main Event pre-show matches with like Tyler Bate. But when you watch Main Event and you watch Kross come out and he does his entrance, his reactions are getting bigger. His reactions are getting more prominent. They're noticeable. The other thing that's noticeable, merchandise sales. Karrion Kross has some of the top sales for merchandise in WWE right now, beating out top WWE superstars. And for me, that doesn't seem to be something that WWE would or should ignore. And it doesn't mean that they are. They could be figuring out right now what direction to take with someone like Karrion Kross. Because if his merch is selling, they're gonna put him on TV. Right now, he could be in this in-between phase, or maybe he's gonna continue this AJ Styles feud. But maybe WWE is, after all of this shoot promo stuff, they've pushed him down to Main Event to see how people react in general, to see if he can elevate himself above all of that. It's a weird thing in WWE. Like, they will put guys in weird positions to not punish them necessarily, but just to see if they can handle it. Like Triple H putting a little test together to see if the guy can handle and stress test this stuff. It seems odd. If you were WWE, you have somebody who's on TV, who can perform, who can be very convincing and very good on the microphone to tell a story, to tell a promo, and he's selling your products. Why wouldn't you be featuring him every single week versus people that maybe aren't as good? I'm not saying that Karrion Kross is gonna all of a sudden main event WrestleMania 42. I'm not saying that he's gonna get into a title program with Jey Uso or Cody Rhodes, John Cena. What I think Kross and WWE need to do is give him that pipe bomb type of moment. Get him a match on Raw where maybe he does pick up a victory, but show the frustration, show the anger, and let the crowd figure out what's going on. You don't have to put him on a losing streak. Let him rack up a couple of wins on TV every week and give him that moment, that promo in the ring where he can shoot on the company, where he can stress his frustrations about everything, and then see what happens out of it. The best characters in WWE for me are the ones that are getting over naturally, organic, and there's a groundswell of support from the fans. You almost want him to stay down a little bit so that he can eventually smash through the ceiling. Kross isn't getting any younger either, and he's been around for a long time. But I saw the interview with like DDP, and he was talking about Karrion Kross as kind of one of the guys that he really keeps his eye on. DDP is a great example of somebody who started really late and got over, but it took a couple of years in WCW before he became champion and completely exploded in the 90s in WCW. Heck, even Batista started wrestling super late into his career and became a massive star. I don't know if Kross is gonna get that big, but if he can get a breakout feud with somebody that the crowd doesn't like in terms of character, and Kross can come off as more natural, like he has in promos, like he has in interviews, where he's more of himself, but sharing that frustration, that will register with fans. Then you could be looking at a brand new star over the next year. But what do you think? Is Karrion Kross going to break out? Or is it like a blip in the entire year where we'll all forget about this kind of stuff and he'll be relegated to main event matches? But there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to WWE, so click this video right here, and if you guys like the channel, hit subscribe. It helps us grow. Have a great day. See ya.